Spit roasting, I dare say it's one of the best ways to cook over a fire, but we can't spit roast unless we have the means to do so. Now you can buy one, or if you're like me and you like to make things, especially make things out of things that were never meant to be the thing that you're making, then you might find this video interesting. I'm making a spit roaster out of 3 of these, sometimes known as fence pins. So this isn't necessarily a video of how to, it's more a video of how I do. If you have access to a welder or a forge, then that's totally going to be easier. I don't, so I'm going to kind of use what I've got. And all the materials as well that I'm using are surplus from work, so it's not really cost me anything either. So the tools you will need is an angle grinder, a blowtorch, 3 fencing pins, some coarse and fine sanding discs for the grinder, and some PPE is always a good idea. You will also need some sort of anvil. Mine is somewhat improvised, and obviously a hammer as well. I will be using MAP gas in a blowtorch, and you'll need a metal vise ideally. I'm using 2 vices as my main vice is timber faced and it will burn, so a metal woodworking vice is more practical. I think I've covered everything. I'll probably change things as I go, but let's see how we go and let's get on with it. 2 of these are different thicknesses. These 2 here are at its widest part, probably about 7mm, and this one here is its widest part, about 9mm. This is the thicker one. I'm going to actually use that as the skewer, so I don't want any kind of old paint on there or anything like that that the original fence stake used to have on it. So I've cleaned that one right all the way through. These, however, these are just going to hold the skewer in place like that. So that's just going to sit in there once I've altered the shepherd's crook a bit by heating it up with a MAP gas and hitting it with my hammer a lot. So the shepherd's crook part of the fence stake, that's the part I'm going to alter with the heat. I'm going to heat this up with the MAP gas. I'm going to manipulate it with my hammer on my improvised anvil, and we're going to make this more narrow, and we're going to try to square off one of these as well to accommodate what will be a more square part of the skewer that I'll manipulate on my anvil, so that'll kind of lock in there in different positions so you can rotate it and it'll stay in that position. I'll manipulate both of them to be more narrow. However, only one of them needs to be square at one end, as the other end just needs to accommodate the pointy bit that will just spin. So that's the plan, but for now we've just got to carry on cleaning these off, and then I'll start thinking about dressing these off and possibly even attempting a detail at the top. I'll have a go at that. Now they're all cleaned off. They're all as clean as I want them for now anyway. You might give them a bit more of a sand once I've got a bit further on with it. But now what I need to do is I need to cut the skewer part. So this is the thicker one. This is the one that's going to be the skewer. And at the moment that's 900mm, which is there. So I'm going to cut that down to 450, which is here. And then the remainder 450, that's what I'm going to cut off. And I'm going to bend and manipulate and rivet back to the thicker skewer bar, and that's going to make my fork on the skewer, and these are going to be the legs. So that's the plan. So where I'm at now, these are the 2 ground spikes, and I've cut them both to length. So they're the same length now, and this is the offcut from the thicker bar, which is the skewer. I'm leaving a bit of this detailing on because I think it looks cool. So now this is ready to be heated and bent, and that will connect to that part there via a rivet, and then it will bend this way and that way, and it'll create that fork. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. So this is what I'm using for an improvised anvil. It's a 56-pound weight. I got it from a garage clearance, and the gentleman was a welder. It was used in his industry in some form, and now it's used as an improvised anvil in my workshop. So it served me well a few times manipulating heated metal, so it works out. It does the trick for me. This is the skewer, this part. This is the thicker bar. This is the handle, and this is the part I'm going to square off. So I want to make this a bit more decorative. So that's what we've got at the moment. But I'd like to make this do something more like that. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do, and I think the other way I'm going to be able to manipulate that like that is if I heat this up and straighten it out. If it heats up, strain it out, and then I'll be able to get this to bend a bit more, so I can get my hammer on it basically. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do now. Heat this joint up, straighten it out a bit, create this bend, and then I'll bend it back. So that's the plan. We're not quite there, are we, the radius, but it's not bad. I might actually take it over to the anvil again, and I'll heat the lower part here, impact it on top to hopefully splay this out here, just to create a bit more of a radius. I'm actually quite happy with that. It's kind of put a bit more round to it. Not got perfect form, but it looks alright, kind of alright with it. Let's offer it up to drawing. It's not perfect, is it? But we're not bad. I think I'm alright with it. Am I? Right, I've had a little bit more of a play, and I think I'm happy with it now. I've got the proportions a bit better. Yeah, we're more like where I wanted to be with it. The radiuses are a bit truer, and I think I'm okay with that. So now I'm going to attempt to do is just to square off this part here, because this is the bit that's going to sit on the supporting crook. So that bit will sit in there, but obviously I need to narrow these down and then square off the bottom. So that will enable me to twist the skewer, and it'll stay in 4 positions because it's sitting in a square slot. That's the idea. This is the kind of the square that I've put on it. You can just about see it. It might not be enough because it obviously has got rounded corners, but it might wedge in depending on how good I do the shepherd's crook square base on the skewer legs. So I might have to do a bit more work to that, but we'll see. But essentially that's done now. Just wants to clean up, doesn't it? But I'm relatively happy with that. I do like how it's got like the rebar marks in it. We'll give it a bit of a tickle with grinder after and polish it all up, and that will look smashing, I think. When I've made something like this before, I'll show it you. And I've not used any welding joints on it. I can't weld. I haven't got a welder, so I've come up with these ideas of how to make these things, largely because I enjoy it, but I do like the rivet look as well.
I made this grill and pot hanger in a very similar way to how I'm making a spit roaster. The knuckles on the arms were formed by being heated, beaten and twisted around a 12mm drill bit. The smaller 3mm grill bars are 305 grade stainless steel, and they stay in place only by one end of the stainless steel bar being flattened and then hammered into a 3mm hole in the softer fencing pin steel. The grill arm and pot hanger are 7mm fencing pin steel. It's an easier steel to work with being on the thinner side, which only helps when trying to form the trickier shapes like where the grill connects to the grill arm. The bar in the ground, however, isn't an ex-fencing pin, as I needed a true 10mm diameter for its extension sleeve and for the arms to grip and pivot correctly.
So I'm going to put a rivet on here for the skewer to come down. So we'll do the skewer now. I think that's what we need to do. The fork that comes off it, and then we'll rivet that to that. So this is the skewer, and this is the fork that's going to come off it. So essentially what I'm about to do now is, that's got a lovely little detail on it like that, and now I'm going to bend this other part, this one here. I'm going to bend that there, and that'll form the skewer, and then shepherd's crook will go there and there like that. So I'm going to bend that twice, and I think I'm going to do about 60mm there and then a 50mm. So that one's going to be 50mm, or 2 inches in other words, and that's just going to be nearly 3 inches from there to there to get 2 rivets in there and there. I think that should be enough. It's not an exact science, I've never done it before. I've done the riveting before, it works well, so hopefully that should be strong enough there. I might have to flatten this off a bit, and also perhaps this bar here, just so they make better contact. So now I've got my flat, I'm happy with that. That's what's going to rivet to the other bar, and now I'm going to put a bend in it, or 2 bends, to create the fork on the skewer. So that's the first bend, it's going to be riveted to the skewer. This is the fork part of the skewer. So now I'm going to bend this one the other way. That's how it goes. 2 rivets in there. That's a bit bigger than 2 inch, admittedly. I'll cut this down, put a point on it. That's where one shepherd's crook goes. Other shepherd's crook goes there. That's a bit squared off. That's what's going to kind of keep it in position on the 4 different positions of cooking. So I think I'll flatten off this bar a little bit more to rivet that to that, and then cut that back and put a point on it. Just going to grind a bit of a flat on here and on the underside of there, just so they marry up a bit better when they rivet. I'll just put a bit of a spike on the end. Now you can buy rivets. I've bought some in the past online from a leather supplying company who also supply leather working tools. I'm sure you can buy them from numerous places, but I haven't got any that are long enough for this. So in the past I've made my own, and you can make them out of copper nails, and if you get a drill bit, same size shank, so I think this is 3.5mm, 4mm. And then I've got a bit of old copper boiler and a 9mm punch. What I'm going to do basically is drill a hole in there for the nail to go through, punch it out to make its little washer, and then I've got a little tool that I purchased online from this leather working shop. And then we just centralise the punch over the hole and give it a jolly good bang. So basically, this is my tool here, and it's got a hole in the end. It's got like a round dome there. So that hole is what allows the rivets, let's call it, to go through there once you click to length. Put that on there. That pushes that all the way down when you nail it on. And you'll also have this little cap here you just put on the back when you're hammering to make sure that stays flat. Hammer that down to where you want it to go. Snip it off, but just leave a few mil on. And then you have that little dome on the end of here. That dome that rounds off the end of the rivet and hold it in place. So let's first drill the holes through the skewer, and then we'll put the rivets in place. I think I might get 1 rivet in, then do the other one. I might just flat that off so it takes the rivet better. I think that's as flat as I can go, really. Get that in centre. Go through. It's quite a big hole in comparison to the metal there, so that's possibly a weak spot, so we'll see how we go. Might break it off when we get some meat on it and some heat on it. It's all experimental, isn't it? Right, let's pop that rivet in there. And nail. Beautiful. So that's how it looks. So now we pop on the little homemade rivet. Snip this off with leaving a bit of copper on to bang over. I'm going to leave about 3mm, make sure there's plenty. So I left that much on, so there's plenty to bang over it. it's tightening up. I think what I might have to do is put the other one in to stop it from dancing around, because I think it's pivoting like this. So I'm going to put the other hole in now, and then I'll bang them up together. I'm going to have to do the same again and flatten that off, I think. Dome that over now. So can you see it's domed over now and created that rivet and lock that on. It's same to the other one. Blend them around a bit. Same with that one. Same with the rivets. So that's how it works. I think they look quite cool, and it does really lock on there tight. A little bit bothered because now it's come out of twist. So we're out of twist now, unfortunately, but I can sort that. It's not a big problem. That's just to do with how them rivets have gone on. That's easy rectified. I'll just hit up this low part here and just manipulate that over, and I'll get that back in twist. My battery just went flat. But yeah, I basically heated that up, and I've just, as soon as I put it in the vise, I straightened it up and it's back in twist now. So it's back in twist. I just literally heated that joint and moved it over, moved no trouble. Now I'm going to heat up this shepherd's crook here, reduce it down, and try to make that pot square to take this slightly squared off part of the skewer to hold it in its position. That's the next job. So the length of the skewer legs are 700mm, but the shortest length I have to work with is this 500mm, the skewer itself. So I think I'm going to reduce them down to that length and make like a add-on to this. So I'm going to cut them down to the 500, and then I'll make these legs. And then using the doming end of the tool, I'm just going to go for it with this without using that tool, actually, see if that works. I think it's better to start it off with the tool. But yeah, that's worked. I've never done it like that before. It's worked. There's no way that's coming off there. Making a bit more shape to it. Who needs to weld, eh? When you've got nice copper nails to rivet over. I just think it looks lovely, the steel and the copper together. So that's one leg extension done now. Just cleaned off all that copper nail now, so you can't snag your finger on any burrs. This is a skewer leg, and that'll just slide in there. There's a little bit of wobble, but I don't mind that. It's not going to go anywhere, is it? And you don't want it to be too tight. You don't want to be messing about trying to pull the thing out. So to me, that's bob on. That works out super. Just the other one to do now. So that's both of my leg extensions done now and riveted on. This second one worked out a bit better. I started it off with my tool. I made sure I kept it flatter. Started off with my tool, and then I worked it on this side, rocking it from side to side, so I could see the other end of the nail, if you would, as I'm working it. I could manipulate it, and I've made a better job of it basically. I could hit it in a way that just looked a bit more nicer, as well as create a better rivet end basically. So yeah, it's all sanded up nice and smooth, and now we're ready to put a point on the end. Obviously we need to stick that in the ground. So it's not sharp, it's just enough to break through the ground a bit easier than a blunt end. I'll do that on the other one. So there it is, all done. The skewer legs, and then the skewer leg extensions, all the same length. I'll make a nice little tool roll for this, tool roll kind of holder, so it all slides in and then it all rolls up. So these are all 500mm long, so when you're stuck in the ground you're at least going to be in 4-inch, so you're going to have a 400mm low option, or further, or even closer if you stick it in the ground further. But then you've also got this, I suppose it's going to be about 900mm high if you ever want to do any light heating or smoking. You've got that option, but yeah, they'll slide on there basically, and then it's a 900mm height option. I also sharpened-ish the end of the skewer legs as well for that shorter option. Just put this blade, well, it's not a blade, it's fast stripping wood, but it kind of polishes metal a bit. It cleans and polishes the metal, so I've used it before, it cleans it up nice. I'll show you what that does to it. So it kind of it puts a lovely little patina to it. I don't know, well, it takes off the blue in from the flame, and it leaves obviously bits of muck and paint and scorchness in other parts, but I really like what it does, and it's really smooth. It's obviously polished up some of the brass as well, copper should I say, but yeah, it has a lovely effect, and that bit's nice and smooth. So I'll just go over it all now with that, and I think that's it done really. And what I'll probably do, well, that's that part done anyway. Obviously I've got the legs, the shepherd's crook supports to do as well. But what I found with the last grill that I made is that if you cover all this in oil, cooking oil or whatever oil you wish to use for seasoning your pans, and you put it over the fire, you get it's just like seasoning your pans basically. It seasons the forks and the supports, and then it gets some protection against the weather so it doesn't rust. But I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously we've got to test it out. It's just about how strong it is now really, whether these rivets give in or whatever, but I like that it's not welded. I like it. Yeah, stronger job welded I assume, but yeah, all off blowtorch gas. Doable. I didn't think that, of course, I've got a spike on the bottom. I'm going to have a spike on the top obviously as well, because they both skewer the meat, don't they? So pop that on now though with the grinder. It's got a sanding disc in it.
Since making a spit roast, I've made a canvas bag to keep it all together. It also helps keep any grease and soot from getting all over my rucksack. I've used a spit roast several times now. First in my garden I cooked a lovely leg of lamb, out with friends, and recently on camp with my son. I'm pleased to say that everything has stayed strong, it all works well, and it's picking up a lovely seasoned look through use. It's working out to be a great bit of kit to cook outdoors with, and everything we cook on it seems to taste delicious.
So I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. A project that actually works out to be successful and you can use the product is always a pleasure. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.